Bills training camp is officially here, Bills Mafia, and that means we have got content just for you. Welcome into the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. Now, ESPN, they do a pretty good job covering football, don't you think? They listed one Bills non-starter that is must-watch heading into training camp, which, like I said, begins officially today. That player being, I should say, Elijah Moore, the free agent pickup from the Cleveland Browns just a couple of months ago. Now, I feel like Elijah Moore doesn't get nearly the credit that he deserves, considering the two teams that he's played for in his tenure in the NFL are a lot to be desired and have never gotten the quarterback position correct. Now, before we break down all about Elijah Moore and how he stacks up on this Bills team, do me a favor. Help us catch up to the other New York teams. I realize that Buffalo fans believe that they are the only New York team because they're the only team that's actually based in New York. Now, there's a lot of Jets and Giants fans that might disagree with that. However, I know Bills Mafia is going to show up for me. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Help us catch up to the other New York teams. Let's talk a little bit more about Elijah Moore. 2021 draft pick, second round out of Ole Miss by the Jets. Traded to the Browns in 2023 for a second-round pick, and then, of course, signed with the Bills in free agency here in 2025. But why does ESPN list Elijah Moore as the one non-starter the Bills, or Bills fans, I should say, should be looking out for? Well, here's what they specifically had to say. Elijah Moore, the slot target, has never finished higher than 70th in DYAR, which is a defense-adjusted yards above replacement. And ESPN's receiver tracking metrics gave him a score of 24 last season, which is pretty much near the bottom of the league. But Moore played for the Jets and the Browns for 4 seasons, where it's not any secret there hasn't been any good quarterback play in both of those cities for quite some time, maybe ever, honestly, if you're quite honestly thinking about it. But it doesn't really sound very assuring, does it? I mean, the way that this article makes it seem like they're kind of like, yeah, he's a guy to look out for, sort of. And I feel that like they're doing that because the Bills have such a loaded roster that they picked a guy that they were like, hey, he could potentially break out. So maybe you'll see some big things from Elijah Moore. Well, again, I'm going to push back on that just a little bit because of the quarterback play that he had in Cleveland and with the Jets, I should say. He has not had a single quarterback that could help him propel forward to the very heights of his expectations. Now, I don't think for a second that Elijah Moore is a 1,100-yard wide receiver. Like, get that out of your mind. You're not going to be seeing a guy that's going to go out there and put up those insane-like numbers. But higher than 600, maybe 700 yards should definitely be in the realm of possibilities for Elijah Moore. And he's actually a little bit better than you think. He ranks number 23 in RWR. What's RWR? Route win rate in the NFL. It's a metric that they use to kind of determine who in the NFL is really good against man coverage. Well, he's number 23. So that's pretty good. Out of all the wide receivers that could compete for this metric, being ranked in the top 25 is some pretty elite company, which means he excels in man coverage. So that's the good news. What's the bad news? Well, he's not exactly going to be wide receiver 1 on this team. In fact, the guy that is currently listed at wide receiver 1, who we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, is kind of a slightly bigger, slightly more productive version of Elijah Moore, who just stands at 5'10", 180 pounds. And for reference, I'm 5'9", 190. So, yeah. 600 yards for Elijah Moore in 2025 with Josh Allen at the helm. What do you think? Over or under? I have to think yes. I have to think over. It might be slightly over, but 500 yards with 17 games played is not that hard of a feat for guys like this. I feel like this should be a pretty easy, kind of yard marker to hit. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. So as I said before, what's the bad news? Where does this come into play, and why could all of what ESPN just said be discredited? Well, there's one guy that plays just like Elijah Moore, primarily out of the slot, and has had some proven success with Josh Allen. In fact, he just got the bag. Khalil Shakir. 76 receptions for 821 yards, 4 touchdowns, and believe it or not, has some chunk plays in him. 9 plays of over 20 yards. So he almost completely aligns himself with what Elijah Moore is. Now, you could make the argument that he's got a way better quarterback. So if Khalil Shakir was on the Jets or the Browns, that maybe they would flip-flop places. And I think that's actually a pretty decent take. But right now, Khalil Shakir is cooking. I mean, look at this. This is a weird metric that I found, but I kind of want to draw some comparisons to the other players in the NFL. So his .052 avoided tackles per route clip was number 1 among wide receivers, meaning he's shifty. While his 19.9% receptions per route was second in the NFL. So he is absolutely proving to be one of the most efficient wide receivers in the NFL. Granted, he's not burning you down the field like a Jamar Chase would. But he certainly is a better version of what Elijah Moore is right now. Elijah Moore was taken in the 2021 draft, Shakir in the 2022 draft, so Shakir's not that much younger than him. I mean, let's just take a look at the 2024 stats and put them side by side for comparison. Almost the exact same amount of targets, almost the exact same amount of receptions. Shakir beats him in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. But, I mean, I think it would be a fair assessment to say that Khalil Shakir is what Elijah Moore wants to be on this Bills team. Now, could Khalil Shakir take the next step and reach 1,000 yards and Elijah Moore just kind of slide into that 2024 Shakir spot? It's possible. But then again, there's a lot of pass catchers on this team that are going to be fighting for, their grabs. Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer, who they also brought in free agency. There are a lot of guys on this team. It's a wide receiver by committee that are going to be fighting for their receptions as well. So Elijah Moore, just as easily as I said, could take that next step. He could also fall to the wayside and be one of the guys that was kind of like Curtis Samuel was last year. Just mid. But either way, you let me know in the comment section down below, which wide receiver would you take in 2025? Khalil Shakir, type KS, or Elijah Moore, typing EM. Now, before we end today's episode, a reminder to help us catch up to the other New York teams. The Jets report is beating us. That's unacceptable because the Bills are going to crush them on the field. The Giants, same thing. I know they've got a pretty big fan base, but we're growing ours as well. So make sure you hit that free subscribe button. It'll never cost you anything. And as always, be cool.